Stop scrolling for a moment and hear this clearly, because this might change the direction of your entire life today. There is a version of you that already has everything you have been praying for in silence. And that version of you is not far away. It is built through what you feed your mind every single morning. The first 20 minutes after you wake up are not ordinary time. They are programming time for your future. And if you use them wisely, your entire reality begins to shift in ways you cannot explain but can deeply feel. Most people wake up and immediately step into stress, notifications, pressure, and negative thinking patterns. They allow the world to decide their mood before they even decide their own thoughts. And then they wonder why life feels heavy, why progress feels slow, and why dreams feel distant. But your mind is not meant to be a reaction machine. It is meant to be a creation machine. And creation begins with what you repeatedly allow yourself to hear, see, and believe. There is something powerful that happens when you sit in silence every morning and train your inner world. When you close your eyes and speak life into yourself, your nervous system starts to align with possibility. Your thoughts stop being random and start becoming intentional signals to your future. And slowly, your belief system begins to overwrite every doubt that once controlled you. This is where unseen doors start opening in your life without force or struggle. You don't need to chase miracles when you start becoming aligned with them internally, because what you consistently imagine, affirm, and feel begins to reorganize your external reality. It is not about magic. It is about mental direction and emotional consistency every single day. When you repeat the same empowering message for 20 focused minutes, your subconscious begins to accept it as truth. And what your subconscious accepts, your life eventually reflects back to you. Right now, there are opportunities already moving toward you that you cannot yet see. But your current mindset decides whether you recognize them or ignore them when they arrive. If your inner world is filled with doubt, you will walk past blessings without noticing their value. But when your mind is trained to expect growth, even small signs start turning into major breakthroughs. That is how ordinary moments quietly become turning points of destiny. You must understand that consistency is more powerful than intensity when it comes to transformation. One powerful morning routine repeated daily is stronger than random motivation once in a while. Your mind does not change because of one big moment. It changes because of repeated instruction. And every morning you either reinforce your limitations or rebuild your limitless identity. There is no neutral ground, only direction, either forward or backward. The life you want is not waiting in the future. It is responding to the thoughts you are thinking today. If you keep speaking defeat, your actions will unconsciously follow that direction. But if you start speaking strength, clarity, and possibility, your behavior begins to shift silently. You will notice yourself reacting differently, choosing differently, and believing differently. And those small internal shifts will eventually create massive external change. There will be days when nothing seems to be working, and progress feels invisible. But that is exactly where most people quit, right before things begin to shift. Your mind is like soil, and repetition is the seed that grows into your reality. Even when nothing looks different on the surface, deep transformation is still happening underneath. And the morning discipline is what determines whether that transformation continues or collapses. Every time you sit for those 20 minutes, you are telling your mind that your future matters more than your past. You are training yourself to stop reacting and start creating with intention. You are building a version of yourself that does not depend on external validation to believe. And slowly, confidence becomes your natural state instead of something you have to force. This is how real inner power is developed, quietly, consistently, and deliberately. So start tomorrow with full awareness, not as a routine, but as a decision to change your life. Protect your first moments like they are sacred, because they shape everything that follows. Speak as if your breakthrough is already in motion, because energy always responds to belief. And stay consistent even when nothing seems visible, because invisible work always becomes visible results. Your miracles are not delayed, they are developing, and they begin the moment you decide to think differently. Your morning is not just the start of a new day. It is the foundation of your entire mindset for that day. And the first 20 minutes after you wake up hold more power than most people ever realize. In those moments, your mind is highly suggestible, meaning whatever you feed it becomes the emotional tone and direction of your thoughts for the rest of the day. If the first thing you do is grab your phone, scroll through messages, news, or social media, you are immediately giving control of your attention and emotions to the outside world. And when the outside world controls your mind early in the morning, you unconsciously become reactive instead of intentional. You start your day already influenced, already distracted, and already mentally scattered before you even step into your responsibilities. But when you take ownership of those first 20 minutes, something powerful begins to shift inside you. Instead of reacting, you begin to direct your thoughts. Instead of absorbing noise, you begin to create clarity. This is the difference between a life that feels chaotic and a life that feels aligned. Because your mind is like soil in those early minutes, whatever seed you plant will grow stronger throughout the day. If you plant stress, worry, comparison, or negativity, your entire day will slowly reflect that energy in your decisions, your mood, and your interactions. But if you plant calmness, gratitude, belief, and direction, your day begins to move in alignment with those emotions. This is not just motivation, it is mental programming. Your subconscious mind does not analyze whether something is good or bad. It simply absorbs what is repeated and emotionally charged. So when you protect your morning, you are not just saving time, you are shaping identity. You are telling your mind that you are in control, not the distractions around you. You begin to notice that your focus improves, your confidence becomes steadier, and your emotional reactions become more balanced. Even small things that used to disturb you start losing their power over you because your inner state is no longer easily shaken. And the most important shift happens silently. You begin to feel more intentional about your life. You stop living on autopilot and start living with awareness. The way you speak to yourself in the morning becomes the voice that guides your choices throughout the day. If you tell yourself you are focused, you start acting focused. If you tell yourself you are capable, you start handling challenges differently. And over time, these small internal instructions turn into real external changes in your life. You don't need complicated routines or perfect discipline. You just need consistency in protecting your mind at the start of the day. Because once you win your morning, you increase your chances of winning everything else that follows. Your subconscious mind is the most powerful part of your entire being, yet most people never take control of what it is being taught every single day. It does not think logically like your conscious mind. It does not question whether something is true or false. It simply accepts what it is repeatedly exposed to with emotion and consistency. This is why repetition becomes such a powerful force in shaping your life. When you hear, say, or think the same ideas again and again, especially during emotionally sensitive moments like early morning or just before sleep, your subconscious slowly begins to accept them as reality. At first, it may feel artificial or forced, especially if you are trying to think in a new way that contradicts your current situation. But the subconscious does not change instantly. It changes through exposure, like water slowly shaping stone over time. Every repeated thought becomes a small instruction, and those instructions begin to build your belief system. And your belief system is what silently controls your decisions, your habits, your reactions, and ultimately your results in life. If you repeatedly tell yourself that you are not enough, that things never work out, or that success is for others but not for you, your subconscious stores these messages and starts operating from that identity. Without even realizing it, you begin to act in ways that confirm those beliefs, avoiding opportunities, doubting your abilities, and giving up too soon. But the same mechanism can be used in a powerful way to transform your entire life. When you intentionally repeat empowering thoughts like I am capable, I am growing every day, or I am aligned with success, Your subconscious begins to accept a new identity. At first, your outer world may not change, but your inner world starts to shift. You begin to notice small changes in how you think and respond. Situations that once triggered fear start to feel manageable. Challenges that once felt overwhelming start to feel like opportunities for growth. This is because your subconscious is slowly rewriting its programming based on repetition. The key is emotional consistency, not just words, but words combined with belief and feeling. When you repeatedly think something while feeling it deeply, the message becomes even stronger. That is why daily repetition is more powerful than occasional motivation. Motivation fades, but repetition builds identity, and identity shapes behavior. If you consistently repeat empowering thoughts every morning and night, your subconscious begins to align your behavior with those thoughts without resistance. You stop forcing change and start becoming change naturally. Over time, your decisions become more confident, your mindset becomes more stable, and your actions become more aligned with your goals. This is how transformation actually happens, not in sudden moments, but in repeated instructions given to the mind until it has no choice but to accept a new reality. Most people spend their entire day reacting instead of truly living, and they never realize that this simple pattern is the reason they feel stuck, overwhelmed, and mentally exhausted. From the moment they wake up, they allow external situations, notifications, conversations, and random thoughts to decide their emotional state. One message can change their mood, one comment can shift their confidence, and one problem can ruin their entire focus for the day. This is what it means to live in reaction mode, where life is controlling you instead of you controlling your life. When you are constantly reacting, your mind becomes scattered because every situation demands a different emotional response and you lose your inner stability. But when you decide to stop reacting and start creating, everything begins to shift from chaos to clarity. Creating means you take responsibility for your thoughts before the world influences them, and you intentionally decide how you will think, feel, and act, regardless of external noise. It is a powerful internal shift where you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the architect of your mindset. Instead of waiting for things to happen and then responding emotionally, you begin your day with direction, purpose, and mental control. You choose your thoughts before situations choose them for you. This does not mean ignoring reality. It means responding from awareness instead of impulse. When someone says something negative, a reactive mind immediately gets disturbed, but a creative mind filters that situation and decides whether it deserves emotional energy or not. This small shift changes everything because your energy is no longer being drained by unnecessary emotional reactions. You start noticing that most things you used to worry about are not even worth your attention. And as you reduce unnecessary reactions, your mental space becomes clearer, calmer, and more focused. This clarity gives you the power to think about your goals instead of your problems. A reactive person spends the day fixing emotional damage, while a creator spends the day building something meaningful in their mind and actions. When you operate from creation mode, you begin your day with intention instead of confusion. You decide how you want your day to feel before anything happens. You can choose calmness even in stressful situations, focus even in distractions, and confidence even in uncertainty. Over time, this becomes your natural way of being, and people around you start noticing a strong, grounded energy in you. You are no longer easily shaken by opinions, delays, or challenges because your inner state is no longer dependent on external approval. This is true mental freedom, where you are not controlled by what happens around you, but guided by what you decide within yourself. And once you reach this level of awareness, life stops feeling like something happening to you and starts feeling like something you are actively shaping every moment. When you close your eyes and truly imagine the life you desire, you are not wasting time or escaping reality. You are actually training your mind to recognize possibilities that already exist but are not yet visible to you. Visualization is one of the most powerful mental tools because your brain does not fully distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly see yourself achieving your goals in your mind, your nervous system starts to respond as if it is already happening. This creates a powerful internal alignment where your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to move in the same direction. Most people live disconnected from their future because they only focus on their present limitations. But when you practice visualization, you mentally step into a version of yourself that already has what you are working toward. And this shift changes how you think, how you behave, and how you respond to opportunities. When you consistently visualize success, confidence, growth, and abundance, your mind starts to filter your daily experiences differently. You begin to notice chances that you previously ignored, ideas that you previously dismissed, and paths that you previously thought were impossible. This is because your awareness expands based on what you repeatedly focus on. Visualization also strengthens belief, and belief is the foundation of action. When you can clearly see yourself succeeding in your mind, your doubts slowly lose their power because your mind becomes more familiar with success than failure. At first, it may feel like imagination with no real effect, but over time, it becomes a mental rehearsal that prepares you for real-life situations. Athletes use this principle when they visualize performance before competitions, mentally rehearsing every movement until their body follows naturally. The same principle applies to your life. When you visualize yourself speaking confidently, working effectively, or achieving your goals, your brain begins to build neural patterns that support those actions. So when the real moment arrives, you feel more prepared and less afraid because your mind has already experienced it internally. Visualization also helps you emotionally connect with your future, and emotion is what gives power to thought. If you can feel the joy, pride, and gratitude of your future self while imagining it, you strengthen the signal you are sending to your subconscious mind. This emotional connection is what turns imagination into motivation and motivation into action. Over time, your inner vision starts influencing your outer decisions, and you begin to move differently without forcing it. You become more intentional with your choices because you are no longer living blindly. You are living in alignment with a mental picture that guides you forward. And slowly, what once existed only in your imagination begins to take shape in your real life through consistent behavior, improved confidence, and aligned opportunities that seem to appear at the right time. Consistency is the one quality that separates those who only dream from those who actually transform their lives. Because real change is never created in a single moment of inspiration, but in the repeated actions that follow, even when motivation disappears. Most people misunderstand success and think it comes from big breakthroughs, sudden luck, or intense effort done once in a while. But in reality, success is built quietly through small actions repeated every single day with discipline and belief. When you do something once, it has almost no power to change your identity. But when you repeat it daily, it slowly becomes part of who you are. This is how consistency works. It does not shout, it does not show immediate results, but it builds a foundation so strong that your life eventually has no choice but to change. Every habit you repeat is like a vote for the type of person you are becoming, and over time, those votes decide your identity. If you consistently think positively, take action, and stay aligned with your goals, you begin to naturally become that version of yourself without forcing it. But if you are inconsistent, your mind stays confused because it receives mixed signals, sometimes discipline, sometimes delay, sometimes doubt, and that inconsistency prevents real transformation. The biggest challenge with consistency is that it often feels unrewarding in the beginning because results are not immediate and progress is not always visible. This is the stage where most people quit, not because they cannot succeed, but because they cannot wait. They stop right before their efforts begin to compound into visible success. But consistency rewards patience in a way nothing else can, because every small effort adds up silently in the background of your life. Think of it like building something brick by brick, where each day you add a small piece to your future without seeing the full structure yet. One day, without warning, you look back and realize everything has changed, not because of one big action, but because of hundreds of small actions done repeatedly. This is why consistency is more powerful than intensity, because intensity burns out quickly, but consistency builds endurance. When you show up for yourself every day, even in small ways, you begin to develop self-trust, and self-trust is one of the strongest foundations for success. You start believing in your ability not because you feel motivated, but because you have evidence from your own actions that you can rely on yourself. And once you reach that level, your mindset shifts from doubt to confidence. Even when challenges appear, you no longer question your ability to continue, because consistency has already proven your strength to you. Over time, this steady discipline transforms your identity, your habits, and your results so deeply that what once felt difficult becomes your natural way of living.